Do you think about social then not only as a potentially a product description vehicle, but also a customer service outlet?
So we look at really social media in a couple of different ways, right? So we look at it to promote the brand, products and services, stamps. We also look at it as a customer service vehicle. We pride ourselves in great customer service, and we found social media is a really integral part of serving the customer well. So while we have care centers, traditional phone service, email, chat, and so forth, social media for those customers who prefer to come in on that platform is something we recognized early and began back in 2014 with some pilots in social customer response, which we call it, which is the care aspect of our social program. And we found that that very quickly that people were adapting to this. Being everywhere, we just alluded to the fact that we're everywhere, so that means we have a pretty big audience coming at us on social. We deal with anywhere from 15,000 inbound posts per week through up to mid-20s during our peak season. So it's big.
Employee communication, employee outreach has got to be an important aspect of the entire executive team. Are you finding that you're able to use any kind of digital tactics to engage with those letter carriers all the way up into your leadership? And second, do you have any kind of social media protocols or standards or expectations of the carriers and employees on how they can use social media to discuss the U.S. Postal Service?
So that's a really big question. It's a great question, and it's a complicated one too. We're actually developing an employee social advocacy program, and it's complicated, right? So in the federal government, whereas in a private sector business, many companies, many large brands have employee advocacy programs, and we are also looking into that. We've developed it. We're almost ready to launch a pilot, but there's lots of issues that employees need to understand first. It needs to be really controlled. We have to worry about privacy issues that private sector employees don't, that are protected by the federal employees are protected. We have to abide by the Privacy Act. There's lots of legal pieces to that. Advocacy is great. You have 635,000 employees. Eventually, we want them to talk about the business, but we wanted them to talk about the business in an intelligent way, right? By giving them the right content to use so that we have a uniform message across the entire organization.
When you're dealing with the volume that you're dealing with, and you're dealing with, as you said, neither rain nor sleet nor snow, you're going to have disruptions. You're going to have other types of issues and crisis events. Is this something that your team is a part of planning for? Do you have mock kind of crisis situations or any kind of contingencies to prepare and you be able to use social during those inevitable, kind of sensitive times?
That's a great question. Early on, we realized the importance of how social plays in crisis situations, because as lots of times when the power's out or something, sometimes there's cell towers available, and so that information is flowing freely. We do mock communications things, mock crisis things, but we work really very closely with we have a large emergency preparedness team. And just taking the most recent example of Hurricane Dorian, where we meet every day on the issues. We have daily meetings, and it's interesting because social is at the table. When we have operations, we have human resources, we have the inspection service, we have other pieces of the business at the table, supply management, because as you can imagine, it's a huge endeavor when crises happen. So you're closing post offices, you're moving mail, you're doing alternate pickups at other stations. You got to get the word out to people. We do a couple of things in the crisis management piece. Number one is the intelligence team plays a really important part of that. So once a crisis happens, when we do these daily report outs we deal with our area vice presidents, we deal with operations in the field. They're curious. They want to know what people are saying about the movement of mail. And that includes not only our customers, but our employees too. Are our employees safe? Are our employees in trouble? What are people seeing out on the highways? I mean, remember, it's all mail is about transportation, and sometimes we find out on social that things are shut down before we even get officials from the area talking about that. So that's an important part of the business. Are we hearing anything that the inspection service would be with regards to mail? Because remember, mail is important in the sense that there's people's checks in there, there's people's personal information in there, and so we're obligated to protect all that. And so we constantly have to listen.
Nick, if somebody's looking to become a social pro, what one tip would you give them?
So, I mean, I think that you have to be a couple of things. Is you have to be dedicated to what you do, right, and enjoy it, right? I have been in this kind of visual business for a long time, probably 35 years now, and every day when I come in here, I still love doing it. So if you don't have the passion for it, it's like anything else. I don't believe you're going to be successful at it. And on that note, be passionate about it. If you're passionate, it's contagious, right? The other thing is you have to continue to be a salesperson for the social business, right? For most companies and most executives who are going to fund your programs, right? They have to be able to feel like they're getting a great value for what they do. So for people that are trying to sell this to an organization, you need to get a seat at the table. You need to say, here's the value. And sometimes you have to actually go do some legwork in advance of that. Here's the value of what you get for what you're paying for, right? Because every business has to do that. And then you also have to be prepared to defend your approach and how you're doing things, right? Is if you're going to set up an organization, you need to show people how they all work together. So in social, we do that with social customer care, and the editorial team and the business intelligence team is convincing the powers to be that these are all working in tandem together, and you're getting great value for that.